Hi again guys, and welcome to episode 6 of D.A.R.C, or Does Anyone Really Care? This series where I'm handpicking certain cars from Gran Turismo 6 that most people maybe forget about, maybe you own one but haven't used it in years, maybe you've never even seen it in the dealership, or maybe you're just wondering and don't really want to waste your money on a potentially awful car. So in this episode, as you can see, I'm reviewing the Oullim, formerly Proto Motors Spirra. This is the original 2004 prototype version, which is powered by a Mustang-sourced 4.6 litre V8. The production version doesn't use this engine, but thankfully the prototype does, because it's better than the production version's engine, or cooler in my opinion. Fully tuned, you're looking at around 630 horsepower, so pretty decent supercar territory. And you're looking at just under 5, or just under 6, I should say, 600 pp fully tuned. It's actually about 595. Now, this one that I'm actually driving here is a little bit lower pp, a little bit lower power, because I've chosen to have a stock exhaust rather than a race unit because it sounds better. And I'm also running quite a lot of ballast. And the reason for that is actually also the reason why many people perhaps don't like this car. There's kind of two main reasons really. One is that some people seem to kind of view the car as a cheap knockoff of a Lamborghini. That's really not the case, trust me. It's completely different to a Lamborghini in the way it drives, the way it sounds, and the way it performs. In my opinion, it's actually more interesting than the Lamborghini, but that's just me. But the second reason is that some people who have driven this car find it a bit challenging to drive, and the reason is actually the opposite to what you might expect. You're probably expecting me to say that this car slides about all over the place, being a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive car with a lot of power. It's actually not. It's almost the exact opposite. It's actually the front end, which is really difficult or challenging to drive on this car. The front end is extremely light. The weight balance is way more to the back of the car than the front before you give it ballast. And this makes the front end very light, very jittery. The turning it's way too good really, so you end up turning too early into a corner, and then that you turn to correct it, that turns into snap oversteer, and then you end up smashing into a wall. And the faster you go, the worse it becomes. So what I've done to fix that, as well as very stiff anti-roll bars, a healthy dose of camber, I've also set quite a heavy amount of ballast to the front of the car to actually make the front end heavier than the back. The ratio now on this car is actually 51 to the front, 49 to the back. Now, as you can see, I'm still crashing into walls every so often because no car is perfect, and I would not recommend buying this car if you're purely looking for good lap times. This is not the kind of car that you should buy if you're looking for something to win races. It may win races, but that's not what it's good at. What it's good at is just being a fun car to drive. Something that, for those of you who are like me and love to drive cars that are different to everyone else, this is the perfect car for you. Everyone pulls out Lamborghinis and GTRs and all that usual nonsense. Hardly anyone pulls out the Spirra. But it's not a rubbish car, it's a cool looking car. It sounds good, and as we've already said, it performs well. Fully tuned, the top speed is around 250 miles per hour without NOS, so it's definitely not slow. The acceleration is very good, and it's extremely light. Even with the ballast that I've fitted to it, it weighs less than most of the other supercars, including its main rival, arguably, the Lamborghini Gallardo. So overall, yeah, I would definitely recommend that you give this car a try. It costs about 80,000 credits, so it's pretty cheap for what it is, and although it's not necessarily a Nuremberg ring beater, it's pretty fun to drive. So I wouldn't recommend it as a racing car, but I would recommend it as say a cruise car, or just a car for a bit of fun. So that's it really. So as always, thanks for watching.